Marjie, looks like a pencil in front of you. What is that? Oh, it's a light. I see. That's your light. Okay. I thought you had a magic pencil that would write on the screen or something.
Actually, Marjie looks like a cyborg now.
Yeah.
Chris, I'm going to talk about the Fairfield Fair.
Sure, I've got you. I'll put you on the list here.
And I have an announcement from James DeFrancesco.
Okay. Thank you. Just while we're getting started and before we actually start, so I have Marjie with an item, Nathan, who I don't actually see here yet. Randy, then I have a couple of things that Jim Hesser has shared. He can't be with us tonight, so I will share them. And then we have a video and some photos from Edmonton. Is there anybody else who has anything to share or announce or otherwise?
Oh, Chris, give me about just a couple of minutes, somewhere near the end.
Yeah. Okay. David. I don't think we got Francois back yet. No.
Hello?
A cool thing at the Fall Fairfield was meeting Aileen, who is a club member who watches every Astro Cafe, but not on Zoom. She watches on YouTube the next day. And I just want to say that the YouTube version is valuable. So thank you, Joe.
Yeah, it is good. I did look at the statistics and we're getting probably between 30 and 50 views for each one. So it's not too bad.
Yeah,
That's
it's always nice if
fantastic.
you happen to miss one on Monday night, you can catch it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's worth the time to do it. So we'll say thank you again, Joe.
And I want you to know, Joe, that in Toronto, they have a production team of 3 people doing their YouTubes.
Well, I keep it simple. I mean, I'm just one person and I prefer it that way. And all I do is record and transcribe and take notes. But yeah, having 3 people would be nice, but Victoria's a little bit more low key.
They also schedule everything. It's not this freeform thing that we have.
I know, and they have paid events and the whole schmear. It's pretty highly organized.
They are a big center.
But that's Toronto.
Yeah. I think they've got well over 800 members. So.
Randy, are they weekly in Toronto?
Well, the thing that I spoke at is once a month. It's called the Recreational Astronomy Night. And the first half hour is a spectacular what's up in the sky, but seriously, a whole half hour of it, different people every month. They've got about 5 people that go in rotation. And just for that, it's worth going to. But then they've got very good speakers. I've been, really, really impressed with the quality of their talks. But then nobody can actually say anything. You got to type questions into the speaker, and one of their production people then will read them out to the speaker.
Yeah, I think Montreal is pretty highly organized too.
Which Montreal? They have two.
The
That's
English
true.
one, I believe.
Yeah.
I think the French one is pretty small.
Did anybody catch the Saturday night star party hosted by Montreal and I think the New Zealand Astronomical Society?
Oh, that 45 event, 45 degrees north and south.
Yeah.
How was it?
It was good. I really enjoyed it. I was quite impressed by the way they approach it. Like it's pretty low key in a way. It's well constructed and organized, but I don't know. I think anybody could imagine doing the things that they talked about. It was quite yeah, it was quite good. I think they didn't really like have like the really hyper advanced, but then these people weren't like beginners either. So it was perfect.
I echo that. I thought that they did an outstanding job, really, and that's still available on YouTube if a person wanted to watch that.
Yeah.
And the Montreal part, I couldn't hang in there for all of the New Zealand stuff, but the Montreal stuff was very well done, very well delivered, and very interesting.
Okay, it's just it's a little bit after 25 so I think we should get started this evening. So again, the speakers I have tonight are Marjie, Nathan, Randy, and then I have a couple of things from Jim Hesser. We've got some Edmonton photos and a video, and David Lee. Does anybody else have anything for this evening? And if not, Marjie, could you stand by? Okay, you may take it away.
Delighted. I'm going to share the screen. I hear a clock ticking. There we go. All right, this is installment number 2 of Women Astronomers. This gal is Dr. Michelle Kunimoto. She is a Canadian, age 27, and she's from Vancouver. She works for MIT-led NASA mission TESS, the Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite, as a postdoc associate at MKI, Kavli Institute for Astrophysics and Space Research. She has a Bachelor of Science in Physics and Astronomy from UBC and a PhD in Astronomy from UBC last year, 2020. She has discovered dozens of exoplanets using the Kepler light curve data. Her research at MKI is about detection of transiting exoplanets and statistical determination of exoplanet demographics. She is interested in improving techniques for deriving and modeling exoplanet occurrence rates. She's interested in developing the pipeline, which looks for planets, and in vetting these planets. She describes herself as very, very shy. In grade 9, she was thinking about a career as a classical violist or as an engineer. She became interested in astronomy when her dad introduced her to Star Trek, the original series, in high school, and when she acquired her great uncle's Questar telescope. She wants to be a UBC professor to share her knowledge. To unwind, she plays Dungeons and Dragons with friends. She is committed to science outreach, gives talks, hosts science workshops, podcasts to the public and to high schools and universities. She likes to make understanding accessible. She encourages people to stay curious, ask questions, and never lose your interest in learning. Michelle predicts that by 2030, a probe will have been sent to Jupiter's Europa to investigate its whole ocean of liquid water.
Thank you for sharing that. There's a person to keep an eye on.
I think so.
Marjie, how do you get this information? That's great.
All off the internet, one way or another.
That's
It's
really
amazing that she says she's so shy and yet she does all those presentations.
Yes.
neat. Yeah.
Yes. Well, apparently she looked at, all that Kepler data. Data had been looked at, and what she did was she went back and looked at it again, and that's where she's discovered about 20 exoplanets.
20 that other people had missed.
That other people had missed. Yeah.
Yeah, that Marwa character up at the DAO. The same thing happened with him when he was the first team, I guess you might say, to image an exoplanet. It was all repeated research that he did basically to track that down originally. It was missed by others.
Yeah, and
there's so much data on all those things that there's still lots sitting there waiting for people to sort through it. You just have to be willing to essentially grab a pile of papers and start looking through it. Only it's files on a computer. She was at that planetary conference that was here a couple of years ago.
Oh, neat. Yeah. And I'm assuming everybody is familiar with TESS because I have a 5-minute video about TESS, but I'm assuming that everybody is familiar with it.
We could watch it.
We always like to see these sorts of things. They're very well done.
All righty.
Yeah, I think I'm familiar with TESS.
Yeah. Well, she's a little shorter than you are. Okay, let's see if I can figure this out. Try sharing the screen again. Let's see. Share. And then I will have to go here. It doesn't quite work. It's on YouTube, so if I share the screen and then push share again and then push my YouTube link, it. Oh,
in the last few decades, we have found thousands of worlds around other stars.
Marjie, it's not on. You're not sharing right now.
Many more.
It's not sharing.
No.
TESS, the Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite,
It
is
isn't.
NASA's newest exoplanet mission.
Just a second.
It's being led out of MIT, and it's going to find thousands of new planets orbiting bright nearby stars. And it's going to.
Okay. How do I get it to share?
Just your usual way, Marjie. Just
So yeah,
press
so
the
when
share
you're
button.
sharing, share the whole screen and then make sure it's the front window.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make sure you include sound, but I think you've already got that.
Yeah, well, we can hear it.
So I push share,
Yeah.
and then.
Then you have to
there it
confirm
is.
the share because it hasn't
There
come
it
up
is.
yet. Yeah, okay.
Can you see that?
Yes. So if you go back to the beginning, that should work.
And you want to
Full screen, please.
How's that?
Perfect.
That's good.
In the last few decades, We have found thousands of worlds around other stars. A new NASA astrophysics mission will help us find many more. TESS, the Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite, is NASA's newest exoplanet mission. It's being led out of MIT, and it's going to find thousands of new planets orbiting bright nearby stars. And it's going to build upon the legacy of the Kepler mission, only it's going to focus on nearby bright stars that are sprinkled across the whole sky. And it's going to help us answer a really important question, and that is, which of our near stellar neighbors has planets? During its 2-year survey, TESS will look for signs of planets, ranging from Earth-size to giants larger than Jupiter. TESS will search for these new worlds, or exoplanets, using transits, the same method as the Kepler mission. As a planet passes in front of its star, it blocks some of the light, causing a slight drop in brightness. TESS can detect those subtle dips and even use them to determine some basic features of the planets, such as their size and orbit. Each of TESS's cameras has a 16.8 megapixel sensor covering a 24-degree square, large enough to contain an entire constellation. TESS has 4 of these cameras arranged to view a vertical strip of the sky called an observation sector.
The coverage of the TESS cameras is unprecedented in terms of the amount of sky that they can actually see at any given time, and also their ability to cover such a broad portion of the sky. The types of targets that TESS will allow us to find will enclose essentially all of the bright nearby stars.
TESS will watch each observation sector for about 27 days before rotating to the next one, covering first the south and then the north, to eventually build a map of 85% of the sky. This coverage, about 350 times what Kepler first observed, will make TESS the first exoplanet mission to survey almost the entire sky. TESS will fly in a highly elliptical orbit that maximizes the amount of sky the spacecraft can image and is carefully timed with the orbit of the moon. It will spend most of each 13.7-day orbit collecting data, and then, as it passes closer to Earth, it will transmit that data to the ground. Because TESS's observation sectors overlap, it will have an area near the pole under constant observation. This region is easily monitored by the James Webb Space Telescope, which allows the 2 missions to work together to first find and then carefully study exoplanets. Since most of the exoplanets found by TESS will orbit bright stars, missions like Webb will be able to measure the spectra of starlight absorbed by the planet's atmospheres, which can indicate what they're made of. Ground-based measurements of the TESS exoplanets can determine their masses. Combining the masses with TESS's size measurements reveals densities, allowing scientists to better understand the exoplanet's compositions.
The thing that we're really excited about with TESS is the way that it'll actually build on the momentum that we started with Kepler. So TESS is going to take that same search approach, but apply it to the vast majority of the sky, which still hasn't really been looked at in detail when searching for exoplanets. And by focusing especially on planets that orbit bright nearby stars, TESS allows us to start looking at things like planet composition, atmospheric makeup. And that'll then be crucial when we want to start looking around stars that are even further away and in deeper parts of the galaxy as well.
TESS is the vanguard of a new era of exoplanet study and will forever expand our understanding of worlds beyond our own.
Well, thanks. That was interesting.
Isn't
Any
that
comments?
I just think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
I didn't
Neat
even
how
know
it's gonna
TESS could
work.
fly.
I'm Paul Hurst. Today we'll be discussing TESS.
Now you got the next one.
TESS will discover thousands of planets around other stars and help NASA.
Great. Well, thank you for finding out those things and sharing that video. That's really good. Any more questions or comments about that? Or are we ready for Nathan? So stand by, Nathan. Okay, we'll move on to Nathan. I think you're muted still.
I'm just kidding. I'm just mouthing the words.
You're toying with us. We're too old for that. There you can't take this level of humor.
Okay, so the images I took from the lunar eclipse on January 2020 are still haunting me to this day, as in I'm still doing stuff with them. You know, I didn't do stuff with them for over a year, and then I made like this GIF of it happening. And then once I got into like these cool perspective images of stuff that you really can't see in one glimpse through a telescope, I decided to make this picture
Ooh.
of the Earth's shadow mapped out from all my pictures of the lunar eclipse. So this was basically done by taking all the pictures of the moon during the eclipse and putting it where it would be in its path, not like usually when you see a lunar eclipse mosaic, you see the shadow moving across the moon, but you don't usually see the moon moving into the shadow. Like usually the moon is the stationary object, but this is basically showing it as the shadow being the stationary object and the moon moving through it. Now my friends, they sometimes send me pictures of like them standing with the sun behind them, and they take a picture of their shadows. And I'm like, okay, well, look at this picture. This one, it makes me feel like a little small. Then again, most of the stuff in space makes me feel small. This is like kind of a homemade version of the pale blue dot. It's like looking back on our Earth, except it's not really. It's looking at Earth's shadow. It could be everyone you've ever known, every human who's ever lived, all projected onto that circle.
Explain the lower section.
The lower section, yeah, the lower section is just a mirror image to make it look complete. But if I see another lunar eclipse, sorry, that sounded a little pessimistic. When I see another lunar eclipse, I can start to like fill in the areas that I haven't gotten yet. And maybe I can build the full shadow. Anyway, yeah, that's just an interesting perspective image that I made.
Keep it up. Keep it up.
That's an interesting idea. I don't think I've ever seen anybody present something like that.
So it's not actually the size of the Earth projected onto the sun, because
just the
sun itself has what, a half degree direction. And so what's the word? There's the penumbra and the
umbra.
This and is the umbra. Yeah. So that's a picture of the umbra, which is smaller than the Earth.
Right. Well, it does look smaller because the Earth is 4 moons wide, and this shadow is not 4 moons wide. It's like 2.5. You can kind of see the penumbra around it, like a slight shading. But I see what
it's
you
easier
mean.
to see.
So that's cool. So the penumbra is 2.5 moons. That's something I didn't know. That's cool.
I don't know if it's that. This is just what it appears to be.
Well, that would vary by the distance too, right? So how far away the moon is for that particular eclipse.
Right.
Because the shadow is conical, right, moving away from the Earth.
Yeah.
But it should be approximately the same size, I would say.
So this is 9.
It depends on how far away the moon is.
9.
Because the moon goes from
4.
apogee to perigee, so the shadow on the moon will change depending on where in the sun's orbit we're going to be.
Right.
When is the next eclipse? I think it's like November.
Oh yeah, we're getting actually. Oh yeah. Well, I know there's 4 of them coming up. Oh no, we already had the first of the 4, which was totally clouded out. Yeah, there is one in November.
That time of year, Victoria.
Yeah, it's not a good time of the year. You know that Christmas song, "It's the best day of the year," except for stargazing. It kind of sucks. Anyway, yeah, thank you for watching.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's very, very interesting. As I said, I don't think I've ever seen anybody present it like that. So you've come up with something original.
Thank you.
Very good.
Really good.
Thanks. So Randy, I think you're up next. And a bit of a soggy Fairfield.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm starting with hot news at 5:30 today. James DeFrancesco, who is the director up on the at the observatory, sent this. So John Willis is selling his telescope kit for $1,000. I found this picture of one. This is not his. This is a picture of one that I found online. But it looks like a good, complete system, including I have that Celestron accessory kit, and it's very good. It's got all the filters and a good set of eyepieces. Anyway, I will ask Joe, if possible, to get it on the website, but you guys are the first ones to get to see it. Now, yesterday, after a week of beautiful clear skies, was the fall Fairfield. And so Sid, Dorothy, and I were there. Many thanks to Reg and Lori for bringing equipment down from the center of the universe. Anyway, we set up. It wasn't raining when we set up, but the rain did come. It was good. It was super. We had enough equipment out that people were really interested, and we kept a tally of how many people came, and it was 120.
That's good.
Which I think is pretty good. That included some members like Ken, who's here tonight, and Brian, who's here tonight. I think Brian took this picture. Came by Aileen, Nathan and family, but lots of other interesting people. There was at least a couple of teachers who got Sid's contact information to do outreach at their schools. It was just really successful. Although, as you see, we didn't get a chance to do our solar viewing, which was really too bad. I loved having the kids look in at the 8-inch mirror. This is Nelson's old telescope. That's now a loaner with the club, and kids really like looking at their distorted face inside the mirror. So that was super fun. And then the thing that I just love doing is I drew this picture the night before, and I also just want to show off what Mike Nash took at almost the same time, about an hour earlier. And but I felt that having a diagram that was done around that time and that they could actually see, this is what an amateur astronomer, can get that interest to do that sort of thing. It was very visceral for them. They would look at this diagram and say, "Oh yeah, that's somebody appreciating the sky." And I thought it worked really, really well. So also, I'm very proud of this picture, so I'm glad to show it off to you. There you go.
Yeah, both Mike and you did really well with those lunar observing observations using completely different methods.
Yeah.
Completely different method.
It's really good that you did that because the Fairfield Gonzalez group have been very good to us, and it's nice to participate in their things. I couldn't do it this year, but I think it's the first year I've ever missed.
Oh, well, 3 of us, at least in the rain, was about as much as we could have taken in that tent.
Mhm.
Okay, I just noticed on that scope of Nelson's old scope, it's missing the tension knobs.
It is missing the tension knobs.
I have
and
them.
You have them.
I have them. They're in one. They're in the bag of goodies that came with when I bought his stuff. I found them recently, and so I thought, oh, these are probably off his 8-inch scope.
Well, that is very
I
good.
have them. I have them, so they're not lost. And they're
Now,
safe.
The reason that he doesn't have them, I imagine, is it's very nice when you have to take it out of your hallway and down some steps. You do it in 2 pieces. So
But if you want to pick it up all at once, those are great handles. They're actually.
I imagine
they stick out like 2 sticks.
Yeah, I've seen like how Nathan waddles around with his, but I can see an advantage to not having them in for the way I'm using it, and I suppose how Nelson used it. But they really should be part of it, because if the next person who borrows this telescope, probably it's safer for it to have them in.
Yes.
I have a question about carrying it. I have a question about carrying a scope like that with. Oh, we got to turn that off. Oops. Turn your. Yeah. Has anyone run into problems carrying a daub like that with those tension knobs? I always worry that those metal screws are going to actually bend or snap just with the weight of the Dobsonian.
No, there's a 10-inch one. There's a 10-inch one out at Pearson College that I've picked up all the time by those.
Yeah,
So
those the screws that come out that the knobs go on. Most of the load they carry in shear, not in bending, and it would take a serious load to shear those nuts off.
It might shear your spine, though. That's what I worry about.
Yeah, and knock your shins.
It's hefty
because it is
tighten
awkward to
them,
move.
and they're good.
I always carry the optical tube by itself and then pick up the rest of the stuff later.
Yeah, otherwise it's a little awkward to carry.
Yeah, it's
On
just
a
too dangerous.
On a level surface, I find I have an 8-inch, and moving it with those handles is quite convenient, a lot more so than moving the separate pieces. But on a stairs or a slope, it might be a problem.
I've seen a video.
If you're transporting it in a car, you want to carry it in the car as separate pieces anyway.
Oh, yes, definitely.
I think it was just the repositioning, and I've always worried that there's just enough weight that it might snap or bend or something. But I'm seeing
no, it's pretty strong.
Reassurance,
as Bill said.
You'll need about 1,000 pounds of shear to shear those things off.
Ryan was going to say something.
No, I agree with it. It's doable, but it's it's a little awkward. I did see a video of some guy that put together some observing the moon event in the city, and he had the whole daub on a little track. So it was just a low, like a moving platform on wheels, and just so if you got a flat surface, that's a nice way to move it around. You can roll it in and out of your driveway or your garage.
Or stick it on a Ponset mount and then it'll track.
Maybe one of those golf carts, automatic golf carts would help.
Dr. Reggie's built one for our VCO telescope, a rolling platform.
That was Sid who actually made it.
Oh, Sid, pardon me. You inspired him.
Very good. Hey, so thank you, Randy. So I have a couple of things to share, first of all, from Jim Hesser. So I'll get my screen share up here and see if we can, let's get rid of that one because we'll need that in a little while. Let's see if we can start with this one. Okay, so let's, the first thing that's coming up starting on Friday, and I've never looked into it too much, but Jim Hesser did tell us about it, is the 100 Hours of Astronomy. So it's around the clock, around the globe celebration. And it's, I guess, centered out of Europe. So I assume they're starting their 100 hours probably starts possibly even late Thursday for us, I guess. But so it is available via this website here, which I can post in the chat. If anybody's interested in something else to look at this coming weekend. I don't know if anybody knows more about it than I do. Please feel free to say something. But it's basically organizations such as ours are choosing to participate and share. The other thing that he's on a list for a number of different things, and one is the Harvard Radcliffe Institute, and he had attended the viewed their presentation on gravitational waves on September 14th. So forwarded me that information recently because, again, like us, they post their recordings on YouTube. So if you're interested in some more things to look at, the Harvard Radcliffe Institute has some things coming up, and they appear to do, at the moment, they seem to be doing one approximately every week or two. And so there is the one from gravitational waves, and then in October they have an AI one that looks like kind of interesting, and then in early November, diversity and origins of planetary systems. So these are available to watch live, I believe, or then view them in YouTube. So I just thought I'd share that. So again, if you're interested in looking at those, go to YouTube and look for the Harvard Radcliffe Institution. Or if you want to see what's coming up, try Googling that and finding their events website. So hopefully that's all good. So Dave, if you're ready, we could have a look at the this week's Edmonton stuff there, if I can find, oh, hold on a second. Here we are. And so we have a video, which we'll see if we can make work. And I think it's three photos to look at. Yeah.
Yes, the first is a very short slow motion movie showing the moon rising over a piece of downtown Edmonton. And what he was interested in is the faint blue and green refractive effects on the edge of the moon. So he's given it two speeds. The first part of it's one speed, and the second part's a little slower. So if you can run that.
Let's see if it will work. If I can hold on a second here. I got it rather than using the link, and I can share that link if you want. Well, let's see if.
You can see right at the top there, it looks a little bluish and greenish.
But it was so fast, so when you'll see it slowed down, it does show up.
There you go. You can see that.
Mm-hmm.
So some interesting refraction at the top of the image there. And then I think it was the next night, he took a stop action movie showing the same moonrise. And it's what's interesting is the change in color of the entire moon as it rises. And he says, a month early for pumpkins, but that was the color it was.
I thought that was a really interesting shot again.
Yeah, and you can see the angle that the moon rises at the equinox in Edmonton. And then the last one, we saw this image last week in that form and in the inverted form. But Tom Owen has done a little more processing on it in order to improve a little more contrast. So if you show the second one.
So you notice in here he references some black spots. So I'll go back to the original one, and I think what he's referring to is a lot of this effect through here.
Yeah.
So he's managed to.
Yeah, those were artifacts of the processing.
Yeah.
But I think you can see in the one without the black spots, he's got a little more detail and quite a bit more sense of depth to it.
And I noticed there seem to be a lot more stars.
Yeah. So I like the second one like he does. It gives a little more wispy nature to the nebula. So for all those image processors, watch out for black spots and don't over process.
So thank you for finding those and sharing those, Dave. Any questions or comments? So I think, David, you're up next.
Yeah, I think I may have mentioned this maybe a couple of episodes ago. I'm actually building Astroberry server. So Astroberry server is kind of like a generic way of creating an ASI Air for yourself at probably about half the price. It's missing the extra USB ports, though there's plenty of ports for most simple things on a Raspberry Pi, so you probably don't need it anyways. And you're missing the 12-volt distribution. But I have received most of the parts now. So I've started the build. So there's the Raspberry Pi with a power supply board on top. So that's going to let me feed 12 volts in, because most of the time we have 12-volt power sources. So the next thing to do is to actually create the build of the software on it. And I should be able to get pretty well the same kind of functions. I'm not actually planning on using it for anything more than auto guiding, but I thought it would be fun to have this to do simple auto guiding without a laptop. So rather than taking a laptop out in the field, I could take a tracker and I could take the Astroberry server and then just use my phone to control it. So there's more to follow. For this kind of a plug for the Makers SIG, but I'm probably going to deconstruct it in future Makers SIGs, or if it's worthwhile, I might do an episode on it. Anyways, if anybody has any questions, please get a hold of me, and you can maybe catch up to what I've done so far, or I'll probably be supplying some instructions soon.
Thank you, David. So any more questions for David?
Are you going to make them for all of us, David?
Well, they're actually quite simple. I'm actually working on the instructions. It's going to be no more than about maybe 2 or 3 pages of instructions. And I don't know if you noticed, but most of this stuff is actually, there isn't really any soldering involved. Well, I'm not going to take it apart now, but the header portion of the Pi is here. And for instance, the power supply board, I just stuck onto the header pins. And then there's terminal blocks for the power. So I just have to make myself a cable to go to 12 volts, and then that should actually power it. The actual system is just on the micro SD card. And I should be able to build a distribution that you could just copy from me. Now I'm gonna have to build. I have to do the work. I have to do the build, and then I have to make some adjustments. But once I do that, we could take an image of it, and anybody can just flash it onto the SD card. And away you go.
Put it on Kickstarter. David, what's the limit? The limits on the 12-volt supply, because the standard car battery can range anywhere.
It's okay. This board I bought from BC Robotics, and it's good from 7 to 16 or 24 volts.
Oh, that's
could
great.
be anything there. So in theory, I should be able to run this off of a 9-volt battery. And actually, I might try that just for fun.
What about the software, David? Is it, do you have to write that?
No, it's all configuration. That's the name of the game. The Astroberry server is on GitHub. It's just on a repository out on the internet. And the base stuff is there. You have to start off with a base operating system. I think it could be almost anything, but I'm probably going to base it on Ubuntu. And then you have that base piece. And then there are things called packages. I don't know if everybody's familiar with Linux, but these packages exist for the Astroberry server. And you basically just do installs on the base OS. And pretty soon you have a few configurations, you have a Astroberry server.
So is it, I was gonna say, so you just need the two, so you need the Pi and its power supply.
You need to buy a Raspberry Pi 4.
Right.
And then I would recommend buying this board from BC Robotics. Now, you don't have to. In theory, the whole thing is powered from a USB-C cable here, but there's no guarantee that your power supply, whatever you attach to it, like most of us would attach probably like a phone charger battery, something like that. They are rated at 2.4 nominally, and I don't really know of any that run at 3 amps. But with this, with running it off of 12 volts, I can absolutely put 3 amps into this. And that means that anything attached to the USB hub of the computer will be fully powered. So I'm not going to cheat any of the cameras that I might attach to it or anything like that. So there's a good reason to do the 12 volt conversion.
Because that's what the commercial product does, isn't it? For that.
That's exactly
reason,
what it
right?
does. Yeah, I'm trying to duplicate as much as I can of the ASI Air. As I mentioned, the only thing I'm not duplicating is I'm not duplicating additional 12 volt distribution. And I don't have, no, actually it only has the same number of USB ports, so you're not gaining anything there. The big gain with doing it with Astroberry is you're not limited to ASI products. So for instance, I have an attic CCD camera. I could run that. I could run kind of almost anything that has an Indy driver, I can run.
And will it fit inside a commercially available enclosure? Is that?
Okay. I haven't received it yet, but they make something called a high pi hat case. So they are double height. So they're up to maybe about that height. And they just have a convenient knockout where I can run the power cable out of it. And if I really want to be smart about it, I could probably drill a hole somewhere on the case and just have it terminate nicely off the top. But I don't know, it's a bit of a hack. So I'm not really worried about doing that. I'm just going to hang the cable outside of the case. Yeah, I was trying to think about how to attach it. There's lots of ways of doing it. It has VISA holes on it, so it would actually go onto any kind of VISA mount. The other thing I was thinking about doing, just to make it really simple, was I'm just going to make a strap for it and just hang it over the tripod. That's, I think, all I'm going to do.
Strips of Velcro.
Yeah, or Velcro. The strap makes sense for me because I don't have very many really flat surfaces. Like when I'm using this, I have a tripod and the legs are round, so they don't stick very well to round. So what I'll probably do is just build a strap and just hang it from a hook or something like that. Cool. Anyways, I hope to be up and running a couple of weeks, maybe. Maybe I'm being over optimistic, but I think in a couple of weeks I should have it running.
Yeah, I guess the big part is going to be getting all the bits loaded and then making sure it's running properly, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I've got a nice warm test bed of the house to work in, so I don't need to suffer outside until I'm ready.
Very good. Great. Well, that was all we had for this evening. I don't know if anybody else has anything, Brian?
Yeah, I didn't get the intro earlier. Apologies. I was curious if you are aware of the NASA's Observe the Moon International Night on October 16th, and people, if Victoria Center is going to do anything with public outreach. I can share the screen with the on the website just to introduce it to folks.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any opportunity for outreach, but
Yeah. But you can register as a participant. Looks like there's someone else in my neighborhood who has already. There's a registration button up here in the right corner, but I just came across this by chance, October 16th, and there's quite a bit of information on the website, how to observe, how to take photographs, moon maps, etc., how to host. So that's coming up in a few weeks. So you might want to just you can register as a individual or as a group. People might be reaching out. There's some live streaming events here. So I haven't participated in this before, but just bringing it to your attention in case you weren't aware of it.
It's traditionally the Saturday closest to the first quarter in September. I don't know why they moved it to October this year.
There may be an explanation for that under about or frequently asked questions. Anyway, that's at maybe I'll just copy the website and put that in the chat. It's just that, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for bringing that to our attention. I had seen a reference to it and then promptly forgot about it. So it's good to be reminded.
It's the same idea as the 100 Hours of Astronomy, which is essentially a 4-day star party where they're hoping essentially wrapping the world for 4 days is a continuous star party. So different places have events and doing outreach, which is kind of hard right now.
Yeah, I actually really appreciated all the virtual star parties that have been around, and there've been lots of them, plentiful. Actually, I'm just so glad it's kind of introduced me to what happens in the rest of the world, because otherwise I wouldn't go out and look for it. So it's all there, and everybody has a slightly different approach. I think that's quite cool.
I've just posted the 100 Hours of Astronomy link as well for those who are interested. So,
Chris, I was just wondering, is there anybody new here tonight? I'm just looking through.
I'm not sure if Jeff's ever been to one of our meetings before, who is not a new RASC member, but new to us.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anybody new, big hello to all of you.
Want to say a few words, Jeff? But, you're still muted there. There should be an unmute button in the bottom left corner.
Good, thank you. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
I'm reasonably newly arrived from Calgary. Chris was good enough to give me an intro to the group last week. I reviewed the your session after the fact. The election sort of drew me away. But anyway, it's great to be here. Nice to meet all of you.
Well, welcome.
Where in the area do you live?
I'm in West Van, or West Victoria.
You're in Vancouver.
Victoria.
Oh, Vic West.
Yeah, Vic West. I'll get used to the names. Yeah, it's quite nice. Overlooking part of the harbor. Got a section of the south and southwest sky. It's been, as you know, cloudy most of the time, but we had a couple of weeks of reasonably clear nights.
So, Jeff, are you a seasoned observer, or you've been doing it for long?
You know, I got to tell you, it's often more aspirational than actual. My days start very early, so my evenings terminate quite quickly. But yeah, I mean, I've been interested for actually decades and been looking at things certainly over the last decade or so in Calgary. I've been a member of RASC in Calgary for probably 10 or 15 years.
Oh, okay.
It'd be good to see what happens in Calgary. All we ever hear about is Edmonton.
Indeed. Well, the southern city also is quite active. Well, politically is a discussion for another day. But the chapter there is quite active. They have a lovely observing site. There's an observatory just outside the city. So really nice, very nice dark skies. I drove up to, but didn't get a chance. Of course, it's closed because of COVID. To have a look at the observatory here. You guys familiar with the site? And is it well? Are things pretty active there usually?
Well, our center-owned observatory is on that hill.
Yeah.
So if you join what is called the active observers list, once they, we're still waiting for Jeff to be sorted out by National. I don't know if this new membership system, sometimes Chris Gainor has its moments, but anyways, so you'll need to get on the active observers list, and then we're hoping to get that kind of its use restarted, but because it's on federal government property, we have to follow federal regulations. So
yeah, we're kind of in maintenance mode as well. We're sort of correcting some problems that we've had.
Good. Well, it's good to see that you guys have kind of kept the connections going. Has this been running then since over the last 18 months or so? The get-togethers virtually.
Yeah, we've been fairly active, I would say. We've started operating a couple of special interest groups as well. So we're meeting fairly often online, I would say.
Yeah, well, certainly Zoom does facilitate it. It's going to be interesting to see the transition back to real hands-on stuff.
Yeah, I think most of us sort of have agreed that we will likely want a hybrid, moving forward. We probably don't want to let go of this completely.
Yeah, it certainly does facilitate getting in touch and staying in touch. I got to tell you guys, I mean, just coming in, even the little updates, about stuff that's going on is great. Great to have people sort of put up what they know. I've been keeping notes in my book as we go through the meeting.
Oh, good. Do you have a special interest that you want to look at, or?
Well, I'm a physician by training, so my the real interest is in more remote care, human participation in extreme environments and remote care in those environments.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm certainly laterally very interested in just a lot of stuff. Just really mostly observing at this point.
So what kind of scope do you have?
I had an 8-inch celestron on an equatorial mount. It didn't survive the move here. I'm in quite a downsized environment here. We moved from a house into a condo here in Victoria.
Yeah.
So I have access to an observatory, an observing site that's west of the city that I post to the email list when I'm going out there, and they do have some scopes out there, so you wouldn't even need to have anything. There's like a 10-inch Starmaster Daub. I haven't figured out how to use any of the electronic stuff out there yet, but if you just wanted to observe, there's scopes out there that you would, and eyepieces. There's a big box of eyepieces, some high-end stuff. And
super.
If you know how to run an obsession and how to make the Argo Navis and the Servocat work, then there's a 15-inch obsession out there.
I see. I think that's probably shooting over my head, but
the Starmaster is just manual.
Okay.
And the other thing, Jeff, is we do have a loaning program run by Sadhu, is not on today, but it's fantastic.
Okay. Is that the similar to the one through the Astronomical Society?
It is run by Victoria Center.
Okay, good.
And it's free. And we have a wide variety of scopes that
Yeah.
can be loaned out. So
I borrowed several of them and it's works really well.
Yeah, good, thank you.
So if you can find some space temporarily, then you can, or just borrow one of the smaller scopes.
Well, I'll tell you, I've actually been trying to do it more with binoculars because transport with the even the 8-inch. I mean, I had it in 3 carrying bags. Transport and setup was always the issue, given that I had to terminate my evenings relatively early. But yeah, no,
for sure. Keeping it small is not a bad move, especially when you're in a smaller place.
Yeah,
Well,
and it's not even the place. Like for me, it's been just the aging process. It hasn't been absolutely kind to me, and I would have to say that I'm trying for compact things now and kind of light things, trying to get the biggest bang for the buck that I can without carrying a lot of stuff.
I chuckle because my friend Roman Unick at Edmonton, when he built his last scope, he made sure that there was no single part that weighed more than 30 pounds.
That's a perfect rule.
Reason.
Perfect rule. Yeah.
Well, you
And
can always
I'm feeding
find,
on the borderline of that with my scope too.
you can always find space at RASC. You just got to look up.
Yeah, and the ultimate solution, of course, is to use Victoria Center's observatory on Observatory Hill, because you just have to drive up there and use it.
Yep.
Once things open up, it'll be very good because we have some excellent equipment up there.
Right.
You can find the particulars on our website.
On nice dark nights in the new moon, you'll find the odd guy down at Cattle Point as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's a lot of kind of local hunts that a lot of people use. Like with the pandemic, a lot of us just kind of stay close to home. I certainly have, and I probably never would have done it in the past. Like I certainly don't rate my suburban site very good. Yet if I had to work with it, I've been working with it. So it's not always impossible. Sometimes it's just in your head.
David, you mentioned the site that had the scope set up. Did you say that the address was posted on the website?
You need to, if you're thinking of the one up on the hill that we have, the VCO, that's by you. First of all, you have to register as a RASC observer. There's a thing you have to sign, and there's reasons why we have to do that. It's actually not on our property, so that has to take place first. And right now we're kind of like in maintenance mode, but I mean, we can certainly entertain the usage of some small scopes. We're being as safe as we can as well. So we're trying not to share equipment.
Right, of course.
Or were you talking about me with
or you're talking about
Starmaster and the Obsession and stuff like that? That's a different observatory.
Yeah, that's at Pearson College.
Pearson College, okay.
Yes, it's out in Machosen.
Yeah, I don't know how well you know the area, Jeff, but certainly as you go west of the city, the sky quality improves.
Okay. No,
and so Machosen is the, you kind of got this big suburban sprawl immediately to the west of Victoria, but then it, Machosen has, what is it, kind of 5-acre lot sizes and stuff like that, Bill? They're pretty big anyways, but
yeah,
it's a lot darker out there.
And almost no street lights.
Yeah.
Yeah, the density of street lighting is what really makes the difference. If you think about where the dark spots are in the city.
Okay. Good. And is Pearson down Machosen Way or
yes,
it's an international school. It's part of the United World College organization. So it's Lester B. Pearson College of the Pacific is its official name. But Pearson College will get you there.
Yeah.
And it's got a waterfront site pretty much in the western part of Machosen, I guess I'd say.
Yeah. It looks straight across to Washington State, across the water. So it's, you have a perfect southern view as low as you can get.
Right. Well, I can see the southern and the southwestern sky is going to be
Yeah.
well observed, except when things open up and one can get more of a 360 degree view.
But I just take people there. I have key to the gate and key to the building and all that stuff.
Oh, okay.
I volunteer with the school in their astronomy activity.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Again, good to meet you all.
And Jeff, Joe's just copied into or posted in the chat the members only page and the password for it, which I haven't sent you yet because you haven't got your membership of our center email yet from me, but you'll get that information again. But if you want to take it now and have a look at it, please do.
Yeah,
So
you
Chris,
can at least have a look at it and see
are you having
what's
trouble,
involved.
Chris, with the members access thing with National?
A little bit, yes.
it came up at the national meeting.
Yeah.
People were having trouble with it.
Well, it's like Jeff's I think he's been working on this for a while to get his name on our list. And he's about the third person who's contacted me this year. And it doesn't seem like you can self-serve yourself into a different center. Although that was supposed to be one of the things you were supposed to be able to do. So it seems like you have to contact National and ask them to switch you over.
Yeah, so that's happened. So we'll see what the actual what the reality of that is if you get a notice about that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, that's great.
They've had a bunch of personnel turnover there recently.
Yeah. And with this new system, it's still not quite 100%, I guess. I've got some questions for the national office because it's supposed to take people off the active thing, for example, right after they expire, but which it seems to do most of the time, but not all of the time. So those who were at the last council meeting may have heard my comment that it seems like it's over-reporting our membership a bit because some people I don't think should be on there. So I need to ask the office about that. So things like that.
Yeah. So I wonder if they're still experiencing the same thing that most other places are with personnel and access issues. You know, just less.
Well, and people aren't at the office. I know that. You know, they're working remotely. So yeah.
And they've got a couple of new hires, and so I think people coming up to speed, and there will be somebody dedicated, I think, just specifically to that soon. So it just needs some time to sort out. And they do have their new office now. So that'll take place over December or January, where they will move everything.
Mm-hmm. Are they going to return to work in person, or do they know yet?
There will be somebody there, I think, always. It will depend.
Yeah.
But that's the theory, that there will have somebody, at least one person there. Yeah. And that there'll be 7-day-a-week ability to contact somebody.
Cool.
That's their goal.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah. So I don't know if anybody else has anything for this evening.
Chris, I can show one picture to remind people that there's still sky up there above those clouds.
Yeah, please do, John.
Just one. Can you see the North American Nebula and the Pelican?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is still up there, but the data that I got this from is pretty old. It's from 2007, and I just reprocessed it, and I'm kind of pleased with it. So I thought I'd just show you.
What do you think you're doing different now, John?
Well, quite a few things, because I've learned a lot since 2007. But the most recent thing that's helped is that combination of PixInsight and the fact that within PixInsight, there's a process that allows you to take the stars out And then what I've done is I've processed the nebula and the stars separately, because they really take quite different processing to bring out what you want.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the nice features of a tool like that. But
Yeah.
John, you just reminded me of something that I'd like to mention to people. At the star party that was on Saturday, when the Montreal astrophotographers were speaking, they mentioned a program called SIRIL, or SIRIL, not SIRIL, SIRIL.
SIRIL, yeah.
Yeah, so apparently there's a person in Montreal Center who does a presentation on it. So I don't know if you guys are interested, maybe we can get a hold of them and have a look at SIRIL, because SIRIL is substantially cheaper than PixInsight, like free versus, you know, X.
And using
$100.
SIRIL, David.
Oh, you are? Well,
Yeah.
wonderful.
So Brock,
How do you like it?
give a presentation?
It's awesome. It's
Yeah,
really good.
that's definitely what I've heard. And people
Yeah.
were just saying,
It's
you
easy
know-
to use, and it's got a photometric calibration and a background extraction that are
just like
take-
PI, right?
Take 2 minutes to do, with no messing, dragging triangles and rectangles around and weird cryptic stuff. It's quite nice. I haven't used it. I still just kind of use it just for those two main features, because I kind of do most of my stuff in in Deep Sky Stacker, going back to, that's what I first used. But for the point of view of just getting color correct and getting the background cleaned up, it's just great, because I just do a couple little items in there that just take a couple minutes. And
well, I'm glad you're doing that, Brock, because I don't know what to say to people when they say, well, PixInsight's kind of expensive, but you know, like, we know what wonderful things they can do, but
yeah,
you know, what is there for people that don't want to spend all that money, right?
Well, I don't think PixInsight, I mean, it's compared to all the other crap that I've bought, it's cheap, but you know, it's more just the user interface drives me nuts.
It's something you have to get used to, for sure.
Yeah.
Interesting. And this one says it comes in Linux, Windows, and Mac OS.
Yeah.
I just posted the link to their website, so I think.
Yeah, so does PixInsight is multi-platform as well.
Multi-platform, yeah.
SIRIL's a bit unstable. It's kind of a, you know, it's an open source that's still in a pre-beta kind of thing, and so you have to live with that. But for the little things I've used it for, it's really good.
It all depends on whether you want automation or control, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's so much choice out there, but Brock, you made a good point. You know, sometimes if you want to live a little bit on the wild side in terms of stability, there's a lot of good stuff out there to use.
Yeah.
Maybe not as stable as commercial products.
Well, you do kind of get a bit of what you pay for, right? So if you get it for
for
free,
sure.
then you've got to expect it. So there could be some issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got something to mention. I think we all know that the James Webb Space Telescope is supposed to be launched in December, December 18th, and my network of secret snoopers told me early on Saturday morning that it had departed its plant in Redondo Beach, I think, California, and it's now on a boat heading towards Guyana in South America, where the launch is supposed to take place. It's going on an Ariane rocket. That's part of Europe's contribution to Webb. So it's on its way to the launch pad right now. I guess it'll have to go through the Panama Canal.
I
But
thought you were
there-
going to tell us that it was getting postponed again.
No, there. I mean, there's been an amazing number of postponements. I don't know how many, but yes, it's on its way. They're kind of keeping it hush hush, you know, because they're actually concerned about piracy. You know, this is the world we live in these days.
Chris, I was going to ask you exactly that. Not only just piracy, but I was just thinking, like, how do you estimate the risk of having to move a piece of equipment like that, any kind of distance, and then launching it? I just wonder how people even estimate that.
Why?
Well, I'm just curious because I mean, I guess maybe if everything is really,
I don't know. I mean, it's built into a special carrier that I think that,
okay.
for example, deals with, you know, the bumps and things like that that you have to deal with.
It's
But
going to
yeah,
be put on a rocket and blasted into space. It's going to have something explode underneath it.
That's
and
right.
shake like hell and
That's
then go to
right.
space.
They've already
It has to
factored it in.
successfully unfold.
Yeah, we hope it
They
will
just
survive the
dropping it
season.
wouldn't do anything.
That's right. And then, you know, once it gets into space, it has to go through this elaborate sequence that's going to take about a month to get into position and unfold like an origami thing. And it's, you know, I've said this a million times. I'm sure some of you have heard me tell this joke a dozen times, but I've often expressed the wish that I could get the Pepto-Bismol concession for the Space Telescope Institute, you know, in December, because, you know, about a month's worth of work and I make so much money I could retire in luxury.
It's going to be a nail biter for sure.
That's right.
These space telescopes, they don't make my images look any better.
And your point is?
Well, actually, I would disagree with you because you know, Hubble was a great big driver for you know, the shift to digital astrophotography.
Sure.
And was actually quite influential in sort of helping, you know, even amateur astronomers figure out how to process their images. You know, I think most of the serious astrophotographers will know about the Hubble palette, which was kind of a means of sorting out the colors when you're working off of black and white images taken in with different filters. So, and I talk about that in my book, and I'm hoping, and I mean, the only thing that's been postponed more than the print version of my book, I think, is the launch of Web. But the latest rumor is that the book is going to be in printed form at the end of this month. So we'll see.
Oh, great.
So are you going to have a special launch?
Well, I would think it would make sense to maybe have something maybe in cooperation with the FDAO, kind of a launch thing.
Are you allowed to offer it yourself, or do you have to, or is it going to be only available at a certain outlet?
Well, you know, NASA is producing it, so we'll just have to get a supply from NASA and sell them. But I won't make any royalties or anything off of it. So I was already pretty well paid to write it. So
yeah.
So it's going to be a little different from you know, from if it was done by commercial press. So I don't want to get into the detail right now until we actually see it. But you know, I am getting a few free copies. You know, and I'm sure I'll give one to the library here. But as soon as the thing is actually printed, then I'm going to get to work on sort of figuring out how we can get some up here to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't need any royalties there. You're going to make so much money off Pepto-Bismol.
Oh, well, I didn't get that, you know. So
you're the pharmaceutical rep.
I can't go down there because of COVID, you know. So
yeah.
Although there's going to be a few anxious people up at the DAO, I suspect, because.
Very
so
good.
Anyway.
Well, thank you very much for joining us this evening. And if there aren't any final words, we'll close this one. We'll be together again next week, and then the week following, of course, is Thanksgiving. So we'll Won't have an Astro Cafe on that Monday night, and then we're back again for the rest of the month. So another thing we were looking at is looking for potentials for some guest speakers for at least for one of these meetings every month. So if you have any suggestions, I think Randy and David Lee were.
Chris, is there anybody queued for October at all?
Not that I've been told. So
okay, all right. Because I've got some ideas. And
okay.
Marjie, you said that you had an idea or a lead. Is that a possibility for October?
I did ask Tanya Harrison if she would be interested in giving us a presentation, but I haven't heard back from her. I think I'll email Michelle Kunimoto.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
Well, she specifically said she likes doing outreach, so
there you go.
Let's go for it. Okay. Anyways, well, thank you very much, everyone, and thanks for joining us, and thank you for the people who presented this evening. And have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Good night.
Good night then.